Again. So last time where we ended, we were having a discussion about the key features of the market economy. We just to recap a little bit before we begin with the discussion is that we said that like when it comes to economic systems, there are three large sort of distinctions of economic systems. One is your free market economy, another one is your command economy, and the last one is your mixed economy. In a free market economy, we say this that resources are completely owned by private individual, where government has very little role to play. On the other hand, we'll soon see in command economy there's a lot more government involvement, and government is the one that owns factors of production and making key decisions about factors of production. Then came your mixed economy, where there's both the private sector and the public sector. So therefore, the key distinction amongst these three economic systems is to do more so with who owns the resources, and therefore who is making key decisions about allocation of resources. What are economic systems providing us? They're providing us with institutional framework to allocate resources. Make sense? So when in a free market economy, we say this that the main actors we said were the consumers, the producers, the owners of factors of production, and the government, which has a very limited role. The key motivation of these economic actors is to maximize their own self-interest. So for your consumer, you want to maximize your welfare, your utility, your satisfaction. You want to get the maximum out of the dollar that you invest. From a producer perspective, you are maximizing your profits. You want to make the product that gives you the maximum possible profits. For the owners of factors of production, you're trying to make you're trying to make sure you are maximizing your income. So for example, if you are a landowner, you want to maximize rent. If you're a labor owner, you want to maximize wages, and so on and so forth. And the government is also playing a small role here, but they're trying to make sure that the social welfare is maximized. Who owns the resources? We say private individuals are the ones who owning resources, and they have the government has a very limited role in terms of uh, making sure that nobody takes away those properties from you unlawfully. And therefore, there's a legal system out there which is defining the law, and there are property rights established, which is helping you to make sure you don't lose your asset to somebody else, your ownership to somebody else in an unlawful manner. Make sense? Today's discussion will focus on a few other features. The first feature that I want to talk about is the idea that in a free market economy, you have what we call free enterprise. Free enterprise basically means that you have the complete um, you have the complete freedom to invest or freedom to buy and sell goods and services. That freedom to buy and sell what you own is something we will soon see in a command economy. It's not there, but in a free market economy, if you are if you're a worker, you have complete freedom as to decide where to work. If you are somebody who owns the land, nobody will take it away. You have the freedom to give it to somebody, to anyone probably out there who's going to give you a good rent. So there is free enterprise means the complete freedom to right to buy and sell what you own. And with this comes an important feature, which is a distinguishing feature when it comes to the free market economy, that is competition. We say that there are two things that lead to competition. The first thing is there is free enterprise, which means your freedom to buy and sell. And the second feature is alongside free enterprise is the idea that you are maximizing self-interest. So if you're maximizing self-interest, which means you are maximizing your return, and also you are also sort of having a free enterprise, basically, where you have the freedom to buy and sell. Both of these, free enterprise and self-interest, will lead to an important element, which is called competition. And the reason is very simple. Let's say if I'm an employee, right, and I'm looking for a job, who would I go to? And the answer is the one who gives me the maximum possible income. Makes sense? Similarly, if I'm a consumer, what good will I buy? The one that gives you maximum possible satisfaction. Each and every one of us will try to basically make sure that we get the maximum possible return out of our resources that we own. So we say this competition exists as economic agents are free to allocate the resources as they wish. So the complete freedom of allocation of resources as you wish. Producers uh, compete for the spending of consumers. So there are many, many producers who are trying to compete for the spending of the consumers, and there are workers who are trying to compete for the spending of their employers, and so on. So the competition is natural here because everyone is trying to make sure they maximize their income. Does that make sense, guys? So we believe that there are two things that are fundamental here: the free enterprise, your freedom to buy and sell, plus the fact that you want to maximize your interest, which may leads to what we call competition. So when it comes to decision making, an important element that you need to understand about free market economy is that unlike command economy where the government is deciding all the allocation of resources because of course they own those resources, in a free market economy we say decision making is completely decentralized. What do you mean by decentralized? Decentralized basically means that there's no single body which is making decisions. Many individuals, many thousands of individuals are making decisions on an independent level, on a decentralized level, and these decisions when they are made by these individuals, they are somehow making sense because for example, let's say a consumer makes a decision about a consumer makes a decision about, for example, about a good. A producer basically respond to it by looking at the price. So while the consumer and producers they don't meet with each other, the decisions are happening in the market. So a good example of this could be, like in COVID-19, for example, one of the things that we saw was that the demand for bikes were going up. A lot of people felt it's safe to do biking rather than taking public transport or even like Ubers or whatever. And that is kind of like something which was shown through higher demand and therefore higher price, where consumers higher price and higher demand is kind of like indicating producers now to basically make more of those goods. So consumers independently make decisions, and when the demand goes up you will see shortages to happen and therefore the price to go up, and producers react to this kind of demand changes when they look at also a price, and therefore they will also then allocate resources. But there is no like central body which is receiving data and saying, hey, this is how much we need to make, and therefore this is how many bikes that should be produced. It's just simply through prices, consumers are signaling producers about what they need. Does that make sense? Are we good? So that's why in this market economic system, we say that decision making is decentralized and therefore doesn't depend on a single planning committee or single planning place, as we call it, which probably will happen in centralized or planned economy where you'll see government actually is a central body deciding how to allocate resources. Make sense, guys? Are we going to move on? So the allocation of resources become important now because when you look at the allocation of resources, how are we doing that in a free market economy? And the answer to this is this: that in a free market economy, the allocation of resources is happening through what we call price mechanism. Like market forces of demand and supply are basically at work here. And as I said, this example where like when people are demanding more, the price will go up, and that rise in price will become a signal to the producers that, hey, the price is going up, let's produce more of that good. And therefore, price plays a very fundamental role. We'll spend a lot of time, there's a whole chapter about price mechanism, where through demand and supply forces, the price and quantity in the market is being determined. So everything is done in this economic system in an independent manner, there is decentralized decision making, and the prices will soon see will play a significant role in allocating resources. Uh, Prices going up means more resources will be allocated. Prices going down would mean less resources will be allocated. So there's no single sort of government or body that is basically deciding what will be produced in this economic system. Let's move on and now talk about how does free market economy answer the questions, the three economic questions of what, how, and for whom to produce. We saw these three economic questions were important for us to decide the allocation of resources, which is the fundamental sort of role of an economic system. So the first question we need to answer is what to produce. And the answer to this question of what to produce is that in a free market economy, it's the consumers who are deciding what to produce. So the consumers are what we call sovereign. They are the most powerful. They are independent. They are the ones who are deciding what will be produced in this economy. How do they do that? Well, we say this, that consumers have kind of like a spending, some kind of like a spending vote. Okay, they have some amount of money they're spending, and this amount of money that they're spending is like spending votes. It's like they are signaling out there that this is what we want. How are they signaling? For example, a lot of people, let's say, buying bikes in COVID-19, for example, means that suddenly there are a lot more spending votes out there for bikes. So a lot more producer will start focusing on making bikes because the demand is going up. Suddenly people are finding more safer to ride bikes than otherwise. So consumers are kind of like casting their spending votes when they purchase these goods and services. So these goods and services that are being sort of bought are like for example votes. And so consumers, when they buy goods and services, they're signaling producers that they want more of that good. And firms react to this. Firms receive these spending votes, or firms receive this kind of increase in demand, and they devote more resources or factors of production to produce these goods and services. So in a way, it's a way that automatically consumers' demand translate into higher price. So let me kind of like summarize this, that like demand goes up, you'll see the price to go up, which would mean producers will be like, hey, the price is going up, they will increase supply, the price may go down, but increasing supply would means allocate more resources. So this is how this whole system works in that manner. Make sense, guys? Do we have any questions before we move on? So in short, what's the answer to this question, what to produce? And the answer is whatever consumers want. Whatever consumers want will be produced in a free market economy. Exactly, whatever consumer demand. Good job, Cheyenne. Consumers are the ones that are making this decision. Then comes how to produce. And basically, how to produce is an important question as well, because we know this in this economic system, we have competition happening. Everyone is competing with each other. And from a consumer perspective, he's going to buy from that producer who's giving him the lowest possible price. Isn't that true? If I'm a producer, I will basically buy from the lowest possible price producer, given the same quality. Given the same quality, whoever gives me the lowest is one that I will probably go for. And for me, that producer who's giving me the lowest possible sort of price is basically also the one who has probably the lowest possible cost. And how is he achieving the lowest possible cost? Well, because he's probably adopting the lowest cost technique of production. So as a producer, if I am going to use those factors of production which are giving the lowest possible cost, I will be able to offer the lowest possible price. So in short, what we say, guys, is this, that from a producer's perspective, it is really important to be as efficient as possible. And the reason why it's really important to be as efficient as possible because we are in a very competitive environment. Our competition means that we need to keep the price as low as possible. So how to produce, basically the answer for this one would be using resources as efficiently as possible. And the reason is simple, because if you're not efficient, nobody's going to buy from you, because producers and consumers are in competition with each other. So when we look at for whom to produce, we're looking at basically who are we making the good for? And the answer to this question in a free market economy is whoever can buy. So in short, what I'm saying is that those with high income and those with more wealth will be able to buy large amount of goods and services. In this economic system, it's the one who has the money will get the good. If you are somebody who's poor or somebody with low income and little wealth, then you will only buy few goods and services. So in short, the answer to this question is for whom to produce, and the answer is the one who has the money. The one who has the money will have more choice and therefore will have the liberty or sovereignty even to buy more goods and services. So the amount of money consumer sort of spend, of course, is determined by the wealth and by their income. And if your wealth, which is past savings, and income is high, then automatically you are the one who will get more goods. So in this economic system, it's about for whom to produce is all about whoever can buy. So unlike other economic systems we'll talk about, one of the basic point of sort of contention comes from the idea of for whom to produce, because in this economic system suddenly you have people with more ability to buy, decide about goods and services. Make sense? And because it's not about that, you know, like if a good is necessity and therefore you should get more of it. This isn't considered. What is considered only is the idea that you will get the good if you have the money. Any questions before we move on? So that's a very good question that Ahmed Nadeem is asking us. What is the difference between wealth and income? Wealth is basically what we say, you know, like somebody says, you say, hey, this guy is wealthy. This means somebody with more past savings. You know, I could be somebody who has a very high income right now, but I might not have the wealth. So basically the idea goes this, that wealth basically means whether you have past savings or not. Yeah, assets could be example of past savings. Exactly. Make sense? So that could be distinction. So wealth is all about past saving. Formal definition is that your old saving, your past saving, while your income is basically your current income. So you can also call this like past income and current income. Or this could be your savings and this could be your current income. Make sense, guys? So this is it for today. So today we discussed basically in a free market economy, what to produce is about consumers. Consumers are the most powerful. How to produce is through efficiently using resources because of competition. And for whom to produce depends on basically your wealth. If you are somebody who has the wealth and income, you will be the one who will be basically be able to buy more goods and services, and producers will listen to you because you have the money. In the next class now, guys, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of free market economy. So this is it for today, but in the next class, we'll talk about the pros and cons.